Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clint Meekum. I am your Volusia County Emergency Management Director. As we all are well aware, Hurricane Milton, arrived late yesterday, causing devastation throughout the state of Florida. Although we did not experience as much devastation as the communities on the West Coast, we still experienced significant impacts that led to severe property damage and, sadly, the loss of 4 of our residents' lives, which Sheriff Chitwood will talk about here in a minute. While certain areas received more impact than others, no one in Volusia County was spared from Milton's fury. Early this morning, as soon as it was safe, we began assessing Milton's damage. Across the county, our first responders and road crews have reported road washouts, standing water, tree, debris, down power lines, and other obstacles across our roads. We are already in response mode and have been throughout the day working to clear these barriers and rescue those folks that were stranded due to high water. Please, this is not the time for our citizens and our visitors here to Volusia County to be out on the roads unless absolutely necessary. Not only are you putting yourselves at risk by traversing the roadways, but you could also hinder access to our first responders and our public works and public utilities workers as they try to assist our residents in getting back to the new normal and restoring our critical infrastructure. According to the National Weather Service, Volusia County received a maximum of 15.6 inches of rain. Not as much as Hurricane Ian, but still devastating amounts of rain. Milton also brought sustained winds of 62 miles an hour, with our highest recorded gusts reaching as high as 87 miles an hour. Unfortunately, it was the result of these high winds that resulted in 2 of the deaths of our residents in Port Orange and 1 in Ormond Beach, as both had a tree topple over on their residence. Our hearts go out to those families and to everyone who has been affected by this storm. As I said, we have been in response mode all day, but also the path to recovery has already begun. As with our previous crises, we're working expeditiously with our partners at the local, state, and federal levels to leverage any and all necessary resources to come to the aid of our community. We will continue to be here for you. If you sustain damage from the storm, please let us know so we can report it to the appropriate state and local officials. This can potentially help us obtain assistance for our community quicker. Please take photos of your property and upload them to the emergency management app or on our hurricane page located at volusia.org. You can also report damage or request cleanup assistance by calling our Citizen Information Center at 866-345-0345. Now I'd like to welcome Volusia County Sheriff Michael Chitwood to the podium. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I want to start off by saying that all of the bridges are open except at this point for Dunlawton. Due to the flooding, I think it's impossible for anybody to go over the bridge eastbound or come back westbound. The second thing we want to talk about is our curfew. Tonight, we will begin our curfew at 9 p.m. and we will lift that at 5 a.m. As you heard our emergency management director say quite clearly and succinctly, now is not the time to be out on the road. If you have to go to Publix, if you have to go to the drugstore, if you have to check on your family members, by all means do it. But you have to use caution. We are working calls right now for cars that are in flooded ditches where people say they saw the car drive in with occupants, and resources have to go out there to look and see whether in fact somebody's in there. When it gets dark, it's not going to make it any less perilous out there. There are flooded roadways. There's roadways that have washed away. We have about 170,000 people who don't have power. You can see the devastation that we took. We really need our residents to allow the county and the cities to get out there with their public works, their road and bridge, to let Duke Energy get out there to get us back on our feet by Friday morning. As you heard the director say, we had 4 deaths. 2 of the deaths were from falling trees. 1 of the deaths was from boarding up their property, and they took a heart attack while doing so, and another was a cardiac arrest that first responders could not get there in time during the height of the storm. I had the ability to traverse the county last night prior to and when the eye came ashore, and I can tell you, we are in for a long recovery, but we need your help to get it done. I want to thank Fish and Wildlife for the resources they supplied us. I want to thank county administration for allowing us to do our jobs to get this done right. And I want to thank the governor. It's a great relief knowing that we had National Guardsmen in this building, in the EOC, with their equipment, ready to go on a minute's notice to back us up and be there for our residents. So we're going to get through this. Just give us one more night. By tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, we'll be able to resume life as much as we can. And with that, I'd like to introduce my good friend, County Councilman, District 2, Matt Reinhardt.
Thank you, Sheriff. As the Sheriff said, the loss of life during any event like this is traumatic, and our thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals that were. This is a very traumatic storm. I just want to get up here to emphasize the fact that the coastal area that my district encompasses, there's a lot of flooding on Beach Street, flooding in some of the local neighborhoods. Just getting out of my neighborhood alone, there's hard to navigate through that, but due to the fact that you have stormwater ditches that are in place, the water has already covered the road. There's no way to navigate off of that. And then in addition to the fact, remember that those individuals that live in those communities, their homes are flooded already. And by you pushing that water, trying to barrel through those roads and that waterway, all it's doing is creating that wake zone, if you will, in a vehicle, and it's going inside those homes. So please use caution, use common sense. These could be your homes as well. This could be your families that are impacted as a result of that. So use caution. And again, if you don't have to go out, please don't. Take heed to the orders that are given from the sheriff's office with respect to the staying indoors if it's not necessary to go outside, and try to avoid the looky-loo syndrome, as I refer to it, as individuals that want to see the devastation. There'll be enough media coverage that we'll be able to produce that for you, so please stay off the roads. And thank you very much. Now I turn it over to our friends at Duke Energy.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty D'Alessandro at Duke Energy. As of 3 p.m. today, Duke Energy service territory had over 950,000 outages. 55,000 of that is in West Volusia County. As you can imagine, we're assessing the damage on our infrastructure and our equipment. That's the first step in the restoration process. Now it's going to be a lengthy process to restore power in the community. We focus, obviously, with safety in mind, and we will do this as quickly as possible. As we begin this, we ask residents to make sure that you consider all power lines if they're down, trees, limbs, or anything. Stay away from any power line or any line that's down on the ground. It could be energized and very dangerous. Stay away from lines. If a line goes over your car, stay in your car. If you have a phone while you're in the car, call 911. If you have a power outage, you can go to duke-energy.com. You can use the mobile app by texting out to 57801 or calling 1-800-228-8485. Be sure to sign up for the outage alerts, and we really appreciate your patience during this process. Thank you.
As you heard from our Duke Energy partner, there are still residents without power. Aside from what Duke Energy reported to you, there's more than 125,000 FP&L customers without power, 1,300 from Clay Electric, and nearly 23,000 from New Smyrna Beach Utilities. I can assure you they are working diligently to restore power as soon as possible, and between all of our partners, they've restored more than 35,000 customers already. I would also like to take this opportunity to give a special thanks to our Volusia County schools for being such incredible partners in allowing our residents and providing for them a safe place to stay during the event. At the height of the storm last night, we had over 1,000 of our citizens checked into shelters, with a little under 400 still remaining in the shelters now. We're coordinating with schools, other governments, nonprofit organizations, and others to shift away from emergency sheltering and get everybody into transitional sheltering as soon as we can. These are for our folks that have sustained damage from Hurricane Milton and are unable to return home. We are also working with partners to address housing needs for each affected household with no place else to go, okay, whether they're in shelters or not. To our first responders, law enforcement, fire, EMS, animal services, our community cannot thank you enough for your efforts throughout last night and today. Your bravery does not go unnoticed. You're there for our residents in the worst conditions, often jeopardizing your own safety to help others. You're all heroes, and the simple words, thank you, are not enough. And finally, on behalf of Volusia County, we want to thank our residents. I want to take this opportunity both professionally and personally to thank our residents and our visitors to Volusia County for being such upstanding and outstanding partners through this event. You sought out sandbags, you prepared your homes, you stayed home during the peak of the storm, you did all of the things that we asked you to do in order to help minimize the impact to our community. Again, for those family and friends who lost loved ones or have had loved ones that are injured, our sympathies, my sympathies, go out to you. We will continue to be here for you for as long as it takes in order to get our community back to the new normal. But I must ask of you, going forward over the next few days, please continue to exercise good judgment. Our roads will be littered with debris and damaged. The ocean is going to be extremely hazardous. Like always, your safety is our top priority. Please help us accomplish that goal. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You could confirm, thank you. So 4 deaths, 3 had trees fall on their homes, and that's how they were killed, and 1 was a heart attack?
As of right now, we can confirm four fatalities. 2 of those were due to trees falling on their residences. 1 was a cardiac issue that EMS just could not get to in time, and another one was an issue, probably cardiac, that occurred while they were boarding up their home.
And do you know about how many high water rescues you've had to do?
At last count, when I talked to our folks in fire and law enforcement, we had effected at least 170 high water rescues. That number may have increased since the last time I talked to them. Sheriff, do you have a different number, sir?
No. What we did, though, was it was a 2-tiered approach. The first tier was medical emergencies and folks who would call and say, hey, the flooding's coming in, it's a matter of serious bodily injury or death. And then tier 2 was, you know, I got a foot of water in my house, I can't get out, I have to go somewhere dry, can you come and get me? So that's how we worked it. During the height of the storm, it was tier 1. And then once the storm and the eye passed us, then we started working on tier 2. Obviously, tier 1 was always a priority. So as the director said, it was about 170 that we were able to get to safely out.
And I know the damage is obviously pretty widespread in Volusia County, but were there any parts of the county that you would say were particularly hard hit by Milton?
So strangely enough, a lot of the areas that we saw heavy damage during Ian were a repeat of this time. So Midtown and Daytona Beach, DeLand, Deltona, some areas in Port Orange, those areas we know were significantly impacted. South Daytona also received a significant amount of damage. So again, anyone in those low-lying areas or that have been susceptible to damage in the past, unfortunately, it was a repeat in many cases.
And how long would you say till things are mostly back to normal?
As we move further and further away from the event, we'll get things back to that new normal more and more. But it is going to be a number of days and perhaps even weeks, depending on what our critical infrastructure partners can accomplish. FP&L, Duke, New Smyrna, and Clay will be doing their level best to get power back up and running as fast as possible. Again, our outstanding school partners will be doing everything they can as we transition from emergency sheltering into transitional sheltering and getting their schools back open and the kids back to school. Again, our private industry partners, the grocery stores, the gas stations, again, are doing their level best to make sure that those commodities are available for our citizens and our visitors here in Volusia County. But it could take a number of days before we approach anything that looks like normal, and it could be weeks before we actually get to the point where we're back to a new normal. Any other questions? Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time and your partnership. We look forward to talking to you again.